Hey guys, thank you so much for zooming in. This is a total treat and honor to have Tracy O'Malley on the Zoom with us tonight. Just so that you guys know, when we were in Top Achievers in Maui, Steve Farber, who was a keynote speaker, and he talked just a lot about loving on people and how important it is to just show love. And Tracy and I have been really good friends. We met, back almost 3 years ago through Isagenix. And I just know that she is the biggest heart of gold. And when I've shared other podcasts and information with you guys, I know how many of you resonate with her, how many of you say, oh my gosh, I have an Isa crush on Tracy. Like, how do I ever get to meet Tracy? And so I asked her and I said, I've got a lot of people that are really, really going to work hard through the end of June. I said, would you be willing to do a call and just light them up and really pour some love into them and tell them some of the tips and tricks of the trade for anyone that reached their goals in Rank Advance through the months of June? And of course, without hesitation, she said, absolutely, she would love to do that. So the first thing I want to do is just congratulate all of you, no matter where you are in the business. Some of you just went consultant, some of you went manager, some of you went to the next star, some of you hit the 5-cycle club, but really, really so fun, and what an accomplishment when you just kind of set your mind to something and get it done. And for those of you that don't know Tracy, I am so excited to invite her, and she is someone that is not motivated by the stars and the accolades. That's not definitely anything that thrills her, but it's really important to celebrate her success. But she's someone that's won President's Quest. She is a top pool earner. She's been to Top Achiever every year that she's been a part of Isagenix. She's a 9-star platinum. She's an Isagenix millionaire. But really what she is one of the people in Isagenix that has the true spirit of our company. It's all about love. It's all about grace. It's finding people that are broken and making them 10 feet tall and bulletproof. She did not miss a single event in 2015 with Isagenix. And there are times she wasn't going, no one from her team was going, and she went because she remembers her very first event and what it was like to be lifted up, her life changed, and connect with some people that saw greatness in her. And I remember just saying at Top Achievers in 2015, she said, I go for your people. She was like, because when you're not there, someone's looking for someone. And she's the first person in the room, the last person to leave. And that's just really, really the type of person that you guys get to chat with tonight. So I would love, Tracy, for you to just share, because a lot of them do not know you. Like when I was celebrating this was going to happen, they knew it was a big deal because I made it a big deal, but they're so new, some of them, that you could be Kathy Coover and they really don't know the difference right now. That I would love for you to tell just a little bit about your story, your journey, what excited you from the beginning, and just like introduce yourself a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. And you're right, I don't care about all the star circles. So I love what you focused on. So thank you. I really, really appreciate you respecting that that's important to me and not the other stuff. Because it's true. When I started Isagenix a little over, can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure you can hear me okay. Okay. When I started Isagenix a little over 3 years ago, my life was really rock bottom. I had just gotten out of rehab for alcoholism. I was fresh out of that. My father had just suddenly passed away from cancer. I was unemployed, and the relationship I was in was so horribly rocky. That's an understatement. And I was living in chaos. If you've seen the movie The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston, that's pretty much what I was living when I started Isagenix. And, I started Isagenix solely for the products. Spiritually, my fitness was a lot stronger in the 6 months I'd been working a recovery program. But physically, I felt like a truck hit me every day, and I was dead girl walking. I really, really was. And so a girl I used to work with was kind of talking about how good she felt. She looked amazing. She was glowing from the inside out, and I was just like, give me whatever you got, and then just please shut up and leave me alone. I was so closed off to even talking about how I was physically doing on the journey. I just wanted to kind of isolate myself, which for somebody like me, maybe you can relate. Isolation for me is one of my go-to coping mechanisms, and it's not a healthy one. It's really not a healthy one. And I noticed right away when I started Isagenix, I was immediately going right there. And it only took about 4 days for the magic to hit me, for me to feel a way that I'd never felt my entire life. I had chased that feel-good feeling in some very unhealthy ways my whole life. And in 4 days, I got it with Isagenix. And, I sat there and I was really torn because I didn't want to share this. I didn't want to come out of the closet. I didn't want to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable, you get hurt. That's what my mentality was. However, the 6 months that I'd really been working on myself, that story that I was just telling myself, I knew was false, because I was doing that in recovery every single day, and I was getting stronger and healthier and more at peace with who I was. And I got goosebumps just saying that, because it's true. And so one of the things I learned in recovery is, you know, these principles that we learn, these tools that we have in our toolbox, we use them in everything we do. And that's how you're going to live a long, healthy, sober life. And it clicked for me. I was like, well, I must practice these principles in all my affairs, whether I'm comfortable with it or not. And so on day 7, I went public with what I was doing. And I was really overwhelmed because I had taken my social network here in Arizona down to 0. Other than my 2 kids and the crazy boyfriend I had, I really had cleaned house. When you clean up your life, you have to clean up a lot of the playmates that you hang out with. And I had taken my social network down to about 0 here in Arizona. So my network on social media was where I kind of went with it. And it wasn't like, you know, strategic or anything like that. I was just really open and vulnerable and honest, which is something I hadn't been most of my life. I'm being really transparent here with you. You know, I could wear every mask that you wanted me to wear to be whatever you wanted me to be in every situation of my life. I grew up in an alcoholic home, and that's just how I coped. It's how I survived as a kid, and it's how I got through most of my adult life, and that didn't work for me. And so, as an adult. So when I went public with my little ISA journey, it was not, you know, strategically placed during a certain time of day and a certain, you know, all those amazing strategies that we hear about social media. It was just me being completely authentic and honest and vulnerable. And I was kind of freaked out because about 53 people responded and wanted to know what the heck I was doing. And it scared me. I'm not going to lie, it really terrified me, because I did not do this to talk about it. I did not do this to share it. I just wanted to feel better. And I knew that in recovery, to stay sober, I need to be of service to others, to help another alcoholic. And so again, I practiced those principles in what I was doing and carried that into my Isagenix journey. And on day 7, I made the decision that instead of looking for the job, instead of interviewing for those other jobs that wanted me, I took my resume off the internet. I canceled the other 2 job interviews, and I decided, you know, if I'm going to be of service to others, why not do it with something I'm so passionate about? And in a week's time, I had felt better than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And so I decided to buy a ticket to an event, which was a month later, and completely take off every mask that I've ever worn and just go for it. And not necessarily... And this is where, I mean, I know Lauren can relate, because she started this with $17 in her bank account. I mean, I was close to that, and I have 2 kids, and, you know, they were looking at me like, what are we going to do? And, you know, when I made the decision to do this, yes, I needed to provide for my family, but my sole purpose was to be of service to others, to pour as much love into people as those people in those rooms had done for me. And I knew that God would provide. If I did right by people, then I would be fine. And I kind of seriously, even though, you know, in the back of my mind, I really needed to make money, and I needed to make it fast. Whenever I talked to somebody, whenever I made the intention to talk to somebody, it was never about getting them or a PIB or rank advancing. It was never about that. It was strictly to be of service to others, and whatever happens, happens. And very quickly, things happened. And I got to that first event. I was 5 weeks into Isagenix. I had advanced to crystal manager at that point. And 2 days before that event, that boyfriend, that situation I was living in, I came home, and literally he had wiped out the house. The family pictures were off the wall. He was gone. The dog was gone. The horse was gone. My heart was ripped out. And he did, however, leave me with all the bills that came to the house that we had gotten together. And I was devastated. And that same day, my closest friend of 10 years also sent me a horrible text message saying I was an awful mother, that, you know, maybe I should rethink this recovery program because it doesn't seem to be working for me. Just that I was an awful human being and I should be ashamed of myself. And, you know, all those things happened 2 days before that event. And those are things in the past that would have, you know, allowed me to believe what they were saying, even though I knew in my heart that I was just doing right by people. And you know, I cried the entire way to the event all by myself. I was going by myself. I cried all the way down to where it was. And I sat in the parking lot, and the negative chatter in my head was saying, Tracy, really, why don't you get a real job? Who the F do you think you are? You know, really, Tracy, you're crazy to think you can do this. And, you know, I was just like, thank God for Isagenix. And I, with mascara all over my face, I walked into that room all by myself and sat down. And I sat down, and a little lady sat down next to me. I didn't know who it was at the time, but she knew who I was, ironically. In about a month's time, you know, as you guys grow in your Isagenix journey, and all of a sudden you wake up and there's extra cycles there and you don't know where they came from, you definitely go and figure out where it came from. And this little lady had realized that her cycles had gone up, and she wanted to know where it was coming from, and it was from me. And so when I got to that event, she sat down next to me, and, you know, I was really closed off. I was like, I don't know, you're kind of crazy. This is weird. You know, how do you know who I am? And I sat there, and I was really broken, and nobody really knew, other than the mascara all over my face, that what was going on with this crazy girl. And I sat there, and I heard, you know, all the data. I heard all the amazing things about the company and network marketing. And, you know, it wasn't until, and you know, I've been preparing, you know, my presentation for Celebration. I'm training on social media and things like that. And, you know, this is something that a really important piece that you're going to get right now. And no matter how social media changes or anything in your life changes, what I'm about to give you right now is the most important thing that you can carry with you, and it'll help you be successful in anything you do, whether it's Isagenix, life, relationships, whatever. And I remember sitting there, and Susan Sly walked up, and you guys, I'm sure, know who she is. And if you don't, she's a legend in Isagenix. And I knew all the accolades, and honestly, like she said, I really don't give a shit about that stuff. I don't care what you've done. I really, you know, that's great and that's awesome, and bravo. I applaud the hard work it takes to do that, but really, where have you been? I want to know where you've been. And, you know, I remember hearing all the great things that she was, and I'd watched almost every podcast that she had done, and there was something about her that I connected with, but it wasn't until I heard her share her vulnerable parts of her story that I got it. I was like, okay, this is the real deal. Because, you know, what you need to understand is your vulnerable, most authentic parts of your story is the data that people really need to hear. I mean, we've got numbers. I'm a numbers person. I'm a numbers junkie. And even I logically saw the numbers and got it, like understood it. But the data that I needed, my soul needed to hear. And it was Susan's story, her willingness to say, this is where I was. I understand what you're going through right now. And even though she didn't know me at the time, like it hit me, and all of a sudden, like my shoulders popped back, my chin went up. I didn't even care that he left. I didn't care that the best friend left. I didn't care that I didn't know how I was going to pay my mortgage. But I knew I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof from that moment on, and nothing was going to stop me, because if she can do it, I can do it. And so, you know, I made the decision, you know, in the rooms of AA, we share a lot, you know, and I had shared a lot in those rooms. And, you know, it was keeping me alive and spiritually fit. And so like with that, I decided to start telling little parts of my story. And mind you, that was really uncomfortable for me. It still is. Every time I hit post, I'm like, oh my God, what is going to happen with this? Because I forget some of the stuff I say. And every experience that maybe you've gone through in your life, and every experience I've gone through in my life, I know it wasn't for nothing. I know that Lauren has gone through some shit storms, and she knows today that it wasn't for nothing, that it is going to be used to bless somebody. And, you know, as I've been working really hard on myself, and I still do every day, that work comes long before I pick up the phone and hit my list of people and talk to anybody in Isagenix. I work on me, and a lot of the work on me goes way back to when I was barely walking. And as I've been chipping away at those layers, I'm having these memories come back of situations that I had blocked out, and they're really hard to revisit. They really, really are. However, I know that I went through them for something much greater than even me. And as I chip away at that and reprogram my mind to know that I deserve love, I deserve all the beautiful things that the world has to offer, that I went through that because God chose me to go through it so I could use it to help people one day. And, you know, using parts of your story. It doesn't mean you vent and dump everything that you've ever gone through. I keep notes, and as things come up, and I journal my gratitude, even my gratitude for going through that stuff. You know, I know that God will place it on my heart at some time down the road to share that part of my story. And that's kind of how I started with Isagenix, was being a storyteller, and very vulnerably, because here's the thing. You know, when I started doing that, a lot of people didn't like it. And a lot of people in my family, in fact, hated it. They would lash out at me. They were like, what are you doing? You know, you're making us look bad. And, you know, and honestly, I don't really care. I mean, nothing that I share is to make it's never placing any blame on anyone. I own everything that's happened in my life. Even some of the things that were out of my control, whatever, that's part of my life. But I knew that sharing that stuff would, even if I wasn't liked, people would respect me and they would trust me, because that takes a lot of balls. It really, really does, to put yourself out of there. And I know that sometimes when we're starting this, when we start being something that we haven't been on social media before, and we're gauging our worth and our validation of how good we are by the amount of likes and comments on it. And I want to tell you, when I started, I had nothing. I had crickets. I had people that would even inbox me telling me to shut the F up. Please. So I stayed very true to who I was, because the ones that weren't liking and commenting were the ones watching. They were the ones watching to see if this was just a phase, if this was going to last, because what I was putting out there was some pretty powerful stuff. And maybe you've been in your journey in the beginning and you put out some powerful stuff, but because you didn't get enough likes or comments, or somebody said something kind of snarky to you, you stopped. And those people that were watching to see if you were going to be consistent, going to be in this for the long haul, if you really were the real deal, all of a sudden they're seeing, well, okay, maybe she was just trying to get me in her network marketing thing. But because from day one, I made the commitment, whether anybody joined my Isagenix business or not, this was as much to save my life as it was to bless others, that those people that didn't comment in the beginning but were watching, those are the ones that you really need to worry about, are the ones that aren't commenting, because they're the ones seeing if you're consistent, if you're congruent, if you're authentic, if you're real, this isn't BS. And, you know, that worked for me. It worked for me. And even the haters still hate. Even my family thinks I deserve the worst family member on the planet. And that's okay. I'm doing God's work. I know that. I know that with every ounce of my being. And, you know, it's being willing to go first. And, you know, I was first in this Isagenix journey with anybody in my social network. And it's scary to go first. And it's scary to keep putting myself out there. And even though, you know, on paper, I've gotten pretty far and I look really good with stars and circles and all the badges and all the ribbons and all that crap, like, I know without a doubt I need to keep growing, because if I don't, they're going to stop. And I'm not even talking about, you know, building an Isagenix business. I want them to keep growing as human beings. I want them to keep growing into the beautiful, beautiful person that God created them to be, to inspire. I believe with everything I am that anybody that decides to share Isagenix was put here for a much bigger purpose than just putting shakes in people's bodies. We were put here to inspire people to live their absolute best life, not just nutritionally, but spiritually and emotionally as well. And, you know, that's risky. When you do that, people don't like it. People like to stay in their comfort zones. People like to, hey, put on the masks and just play your part and shut the heck up. And going first is one of the best things I ever did. Going first got me a lot of backlash, not just within my family, not just within my social network, but within the organization of Isagenix even. People didn't like it. People weren't getting real vulnerable when I started Isagenix. And I love that it's changing. I do. I love that it's changing, because the vulnerability is the deepest connection you can make with human beings. That is the thing that built me a legacy organization. I don't have hundreds of thousands of people in my organization. I have 30,000 people, but I have a bulletproof organization that if I quit tomorrow or I die tomorrow, it's still going to be making close to $1 million a year, whether I do anything again or not. And I know without a doubt it is because of my willingness to be vulnerable every single day in every part of my life, not just in Isagenix, not just on a stage, but in everything I do. And, you know, that's scary. It's still scary. And as I'm working through a lot of this other stuff, because I know there was a block, there was something else. I know God put me here for something else, and I'm working through even more. And I know that I'm having to go first in that little thing I'm doing right now in order to bless people on a whole different level. So, as far as, who you are and where you're at in your journey, please don't judge how great you are at this by your rank, by your likes, your followers. Who cares about that stuff? Know that you are doing right by people and serving and loving and caring about people. And I promise you, you are a success, whether your badge says so or not. I promise you. So, that is really, Lauren, the things I do every single day. I love people every day. I love on the 85% in my organization that are just product users, because as you saw, Lauren, at Top Achievers, when I was talking about what the secret sauce for me maxing out my business center was, it was strictly that, loving those people, loving that 85% that were like me, that said, I don't want to do anything with the business. And most of the top 100 in this company started that way. Most of the top 100 in this company did not want to do this as a business. So as we, all of a sudden change up our social media to find the business builders, you're not going to focus on the lifestyle and the beautiful life people can live physically for that 85%, because your next rock star is going to come from a product user that has a mind-blowing experience like I did, like Lauren did. And, most of your top 100 in this company didn't start as a business builder. I mean, David and Angelique were product users for a whole year before they even started to share it. So a lot of times when we make the decision that we're going to be an Isagenix leader, we're going to be a millionaire, and we're setting our goals and putting them on our whiteboards, and all that's really important. However, all of a sudden we switch off that we're only going to talk to our business builders. We're only going to talk to the people that say they want to do this. And you forget about that 85% that generates that volume in your organization. And what you're missing is your next rock star. I'm in my health page with my product users way more than I even talk to any of my business builders. I barely talk to my team as far as the builders go, because if they want it, we have the tools and systems to do that. We have podcasts, we have events, we have all that. But I know without any question in my mind, the next rock star that is going to hit platinum in my organization is a product user today. I know it without a doubt. And so the only way you're going to see that is if you're in the trenches with them every single day and loving on them and watching who is loving on people without any expectation, without expecting anything in return. And all of a sudden I start commenting and they don't know who I am for Jack. And I love that. I love that. And all of a sudden I'll send them a message if I see it consistently. I'm like, listen, we should have a little chat. I see something so special in you that you may not even be aware of right now. And because when they started Isagenix, maybe they were a little broken. Most of us were. Maybe they weren't feeling so good about themselves. Most of us weren't. And just a little conversation to say, hey, whatever is going on in your life, I just want you to know this is what I see in you. And I'm not even mentioning the Isagenix business. I'm just giving them a big, beautiful compliment that I want somebody like that in my life. Not necessarily building an Isagenix business, but I like people like that. I want people that are of service to others, that are loving people without any expectation, without any hidden agenda. They're just loving because that's what we do. And, if I could give you any advice, that would be it, is just because you want to build a business. And I'm going to be really honest, and Lauren will back this up. Lauren was in a rut about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And because she made the decision, she was going to take this all the way. And I had to have a really hard conversation with her, and she knows this is true. She was focusing on the business and the business builders, and she kind of forgot about all those people. And when she made that shift and really got it, and she did, I mean, that was not an easy conversation to have, and it was not an easy thing to hear. I know it wasn't, but she knew it was with love. When she made that shift, the last year and a half, I have goosebumps just thinking about the shift in you. That's when it all happened. It's when it really happened. Like she enrolled a lot of people in her first year. She did. But most of them went away. I mean, she was throwing stuff up at the wall, hoping something stuck. When in the last year and a half, when she really focused on what she is today, those people stuck around. There was more duplication of her. And that is how she's been able to do what she's done. That's how I've done what I've done, is just the same thing. Rinse and repeat. Love people, love people, love people, love people, love people. Rinse and repeat. It's really that simple. That is the secret sauce. And I promise you, if you keep doing that without any agenda and know that if you do good, you will do good, the rest will fall into place. And let's give her, seriously, to win President's Quest. I know how hard that was. I've done it. And nobody deserves it more. Nobody has really worked on themselves other than me. This little lady I have seen work so hard on herself to be better for all of you. And you are very blessed to have her as a leader. I am blessed to have her as my friend. And I am so excited to cheer you on at Celebration, because you so deserve this. You deserve every beautiful thing coming your way.
Now I'm a little choked up. I love you. Are you guys fired up? You're not amazing? Thank you. Thank you for that. And I will just chime in on that, because you guys know me better than you know Tracy, but she came out to do a Super Saturday in March of 15 with Cindy Hedges and myself. And and the questions I was asking her, and it's things that you ask me and you ask Laura and Jen Feichter, like the what, the what, the what, the what, the how, the what, the how, the what, the how, right? And it's like, you don't really get it until you get it. But I was asking her to go through some of my blueprints and like, what was happening. And like the day after she left, I got 2 Les Brown podcasts, right? And it was like, when you listen to this one, like, I'll send you the next one. And I was like, the heck does that have to do with my blueprints? You know what I mean? But it's like, if someone has been more successful or figured out something before you, like that's part of being coachable, right? And I was like, she's broken through. Like if I haven't, as like, and this is what I'm supposed to learn, then I'm going to learn it, and it wasn't the first time I listened to it. It wasn't the second time. But it just takes time, and the things that Tracy's talking about, that like so much of this, when we're talking about going to work on yourself, like there is no more secret sauce than that, because people are going to come to you for why you do what you do, not the what, not the how. Like 99% of the top people in Isagenix had no network marketing experience, had no sales experience. I mean, we have such a unique company, and we talk about being the ambassadors for the industry, because the Cougars came out of retirement to create this legacy company, the way that trickle down effect, and it's so divinely blessed. And the people we've attracted in are not money motivated. They weren't sales motivated. And so we all kind of are like, I want these people, I want these people. But if you're really, really hearing what Tracy says, you develop those people by loving on them, by sharing, by being vulnerable, by telling them where you've been, and you get to where you're going by helping other people get to where you're going, and that's such a key part. Trace, I would love to ask you one question, and then if you're okay with that, I actually would unmute and just see if a couple of them have a few things before we wrap up. But if there's kind of one thing that you wish you had known then that you would do differently. I mean, I know every single event has gotten us to where we are, but just something kind of early on that you can pass on to new builders, what would that be?
It only took me about maybe 3 weeks to figure it out. Other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change the really hard moments in this journey, because I've had some really crappy moments in the last 3 years. I've had some haters really hate on me. I've had people say really horrible things about me as a human being that don't even know me. And that really that's painful. No matter how bulletproof I am, that still hurts. But I wouldn't change a thing. I know that if people are talking crap, that means I'm doing something right. So that's okay. So if you have that, that's good. Know that you're doing it right, and you keep going forward, because that's a good thing. So I'm really proud of myself for not giving into that. But what I learned early on is, and maybe you guys can relate, I am a black and white kind of person. I'm a type A, red, get her done kind of girl. And, growing up the way I grew up, being a single parent for almost 10 years now, the way that I operate in my life, if I want it done right, I'm just going to do it myself. If I want it done the right way, I'm going to come up with it myself. And in the first 3 weeks, when I had those 53 people reach out to me, I was reinventing the wheel, because I didn't really dig into my tools as deep as I knew they were there. I didn't really realize. I was kind of like, holy crap, all of a sudden I got to figure out what the heck this is. And the perfectionist in me, the mask wearing girl in me, was like, oh, I need to know everything about everything about everything. And I need to, spill every single thing and give them every bit of information in the beginning. And, it only took me about 3 weeks to figure out that we have tools and systems in a place for a reason, that they, like Lauren just said, they were coming to Isagenix for me, not for all the stuff that they could find online, not for all the links I could send them. They wanted me. And like I said, it only took me 3 weeks, because that 3 weeks I was so overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to duplicate. I understood the comp plan right away. I understood that I needed to leverage my time and leverage who I knew, and the way that I was kind of doing things by giving them everything and being the expert. There was no way I was going to duplicate myself. In fact, I was going to burn out. In 3 weeks, I was ready, like, holy moly, I can't do this. I can't keep up this pace. My kids are going to kill me if my phone is attached to me 24 hours a day. And so, 3 weeks in, I plugged myself and anybody that I had into the tools and systems. I had a Facebook group that anybody that I was talking to, I put in with all the tools and the systems and information, the isagenixhealth.net, the isaproduct.com, the business page, if anybody had questions, with all the tools and systems there, and great podcasts that I listened to. Because here's the thing, people may relate to me, but many won't. People will identify with my style of leadership, but many won't. In fact, most don't. And that's okay, because we have these tools and systems. So if you're a perfectionist like I am, like Lauren was for a while, like you had to be the end all be all, it was my way or the highway, and reinvent things, don't do it. I promise you, you will never duplicate. You will burn out. You will resent this. You'll become bitter, and you attract whatever you are. So if you become bitter, you're going to attract bitter, unhappy people, which is what we do not want. So, figuring that out early on was key. It was key to duplication. It was key to me attracting the right people, because I was a duplicating machine. And so I was attracting people that could do that. The ones that really want to do this as a business will find the information. We direct them in the right direction, but I'm not going to pull people along. I never have, not from day one. If they want this, great. Here's the tools. Show me that you want it. And if they don't dig into their back office, that's a good sign that they're probably not going to do this. And that's okay. It doesn't mean now. I see a lot of people drag people on because they say that they want to do this, but their actions say something completely different. I base my decision on who I work with by their actions, not their words. Because I've had people in my organization say, I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to blow out your whatever leg. I'm like, okay, we'll see. And the ones that usually talk a good game never do it. It's the ones that are quietly, plugging themselves in the systems and tools, because I've said over and over and over and over, that's what I did. That's my secret sauce. Vulnerability, authenticity, using the tools, getting to events. It's really, and then rinse and repeat. It really is that simple. And I work on myself. So, 3 weeks in, I made the shift, but that first 3 weeks was really brutal, trying to be and do everything without plugging into that. And I'm glad that it only took me that long to get out of my ego, to get out of my head, and know that it's okay to be good at what you do without knowing everything. And, in my past careers, I had to prove myself. I worked in a good old boys kind of network, and I had to prove myself over and over and over, past the blonde hair and the big boobs. Like, I had to be everything in order to prove my worth. And those patterns and habits I carried into my early stages of Isagenix, and realized that it's not like that here. It's not like that here. The best people, the most successful, at least on paper, people in Isagenix use the systems and tools religiously. So if I could give you any advice, just do that as quick as possible, and take what you need and leave the rest. Just because so-and-so has this many stars and circles doesn't mean what they do is going to work for you, or that you even want to. There's many people that make a lot of money in Isagenix that I wouldn't listen to anything that they said, because it doesn't feel right for this girl. And that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean that I don't like them. It just doesn't feel right for me. So what I would recommend to you is to find 2 or 3, top 50 people in Isagenix. Just follow them. Watch what they do. Watch what they do. And this is something that I did. I'm going to share this at Celebration. I didn't just watch what they did. I went back to before they started Isagenix to see where they were at, because I wanted to know. Again, that story is the data for the soul. Don't forget that. We see the glory a lot of the time, but we don't know the story. I'm a girl that wants to know the story behind everything. Behind everything. And if I'm going to follow a leader, I don't give a shit how many stars and circles they have. I want to know where they've been. I want the story. I don't want the glory. So, you know, as you get more successful on paper, know that the real success comes with your willingness to be vulnerable and honest and open, because you will bless more people doing that and plugging them into the systems and tools in this beautiful community and getting into events. That is success. That is success. And it's a beautiful thing to watch over and over again. So.
Caroline, I actually have one more question because I can't get off a call with you with not having you touch on it.
I can go as long as you want me.
There's some people on here that have never been to an event. There's some that celebration will be their first. Will you touch just a teeny bit of like why we push so hard, and not only for the first event, but like continuing to go, you know, because there's definitely people like, well, I've already been to ICU, or I've already been to NYKO, and think that at that point they kind of know everything. Just from you, not from me, why we go to events.
Well, first of all, your people, and you know, if you're wanting to grow this organization, truly, if you say, I would assume you all are, because you rank advanced, you did something really special to get where you're at, you want this. So, you know, to be in the top 2%, you know, that takes a commitment. And, you know, I knew that with recovery, I know I keep kind of going back and forth with that, but they're very congruent to every part of my life. You know, only 2% of the people that start a recovery program stay sober their whole life. And I remember hearing that percentage, and it scared the crap out of me. And I knew without any question, I was going to do whatever it took to be in that 2% at all times. And that means continuous education, continuously plugging myself into sponsors, meetings, counselors, whatever it is. And when I got to Isagenix and saw the income disclosure, the top 2%, you know, less than 1% of people in Isagenix make over 6 figures. If you really look at that, like less than 1% make an income that could sustain a family. And if you're wanting that for your life, I think that's great. But it's going to take sacrifices. It's going to take continuous education, which means events. And, you know, I go to events and I still learn something today. But more importantly, your people are going to do what you do, not what you say to do. I see many, many leaders, and that's right. With last year at Top Achievers, when I said that, I saw so many more leaders step up and get to events after I said that, because I was there for their people when they weren't. You know, and yet you have these people walking around like, what? Well, they said to get here, but they're not here. And, you know, I will never ask people to do something that I'm not currently doing or am willing to do every single day. And that means events. If you want to be in the top 2%, consider that part of your education. And it's really, 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 really important. And she touched on it last year, you know, when I went to all 12 of the core 4 plus, gosh, 20 other super Saturdays and whatever. I went to like 50 events last year. Trust me, that was a commitment. Trust me, I was already making plenty of money. Trust me, I could have easily said, you know what, I think I got this Isagenix thing down pat. But, you know, I continued to go. And there were moments like I would pray about it. I would seriously, when I went to Toronto and I had not one person there. And I prayed about it. I was like, God, I know that I'm supposed to be here for a reason. Yes, this is time away from my family. Yes, a trip to Toronto is very expensive. Even though I could afford it, it was still an investment. And it was an investment not just financially, but in my time and who I was. And when it never failed, when I would have the least amount of people at an event is when a big breakthrough for me would happen. You know, something that, and I would be like, okay, that's why I'm here. That right there, what I just heard was why I'm here. And, you know, yes, you can watch live streams of a lot of things. Yes, you can watch replays on YouTube, but there is nothing like having your butt in a seat. And no matter how much money Isagenix deposits into my bank account, which is a lot lately, it's a lot. I never, ever, 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 ever want to forget how it felt in May of 2013, walking in those doors by myself with mascara all over my face and feeling like that. And, you know, when you go to an event, for some of you guys, it'll be your first one, you're going to see people with deers in their headlights. You're going to see people storm out of the room crying. You're going to see people that are so overwhelmed with whatever's going on in their life that they may just need a hug. And you're going to be that person. And those little moments, I'm telling you, are some of the biggest learning moments in my Isagenix business. Came in the hallways, came with a hug, came with a conversation and a break, not necessarily from whoever was on stage always. And those moments, you can't watch on a live stream. You can't get, you know, in a Zoom. You can't. And just know that you need to be there, that leaders go first, that the top 2% of the people in this company, which you all want to be, trust me, it's amazing. It's amazing. The possibilities are endless in your giving department, in your freedom department. I promise you, you need to be there. And it's so interesting, Lauren, because, you know, I speak so much about events, and Isagenix has had me do lots of podcasts, and, you know, David Wood and I, for the boot camp, that's what we talk about the last week of the boot camp. And, you know, they are so powerful. They are so powerful. And I can't remember what I was going to say about it, but, you know, they are the lifeblood. And here's the thing, like, I'm being really transparent. The upline I'm with, you know, my direct, I couldn't connect with. It didn't make sense to me, and that's totally okay. They're great human beings, but I couldn't connect with. And what I got at my first event was a Susan Sly, was a Lynn Hagedorn, was a Betsy Frame, was a Janie Elo, and a Cindy Hedges. That I was like, okay. So let's say even Lauren, I mean, let's say, you know, you and Lauren are totally different. Maybe you can't even like jive with her, and that's totally okay. She won't take it personal. So get to an event. You're going to find somebody. You're going to find a me or somebody else that maybe that you jive with. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So because I've been so open about the events, I've had many people when I go to, you know, because I'm still going to a lot of them, that they say, you are why I'm here. I heard you say that I had to be here, so I came here by myself. And I knew I had to come find you and tell you that and say thank you. You know, if you live out loud like that, you know, I will not, okay, so there's this girl that I met at University in Action in Phoenix. It was in March of this year, and she was maybe a 2-star. I didn't know who she was for anything. But she sat down next to me. Actually, you guys have, well, most of you haven't been to University in Action, but at University in Action, you start getting partners. And I always grab somebody that I don't know, because I want somebody that's fresh meat. You know, I want somebody new, that's brand new in this, and to get to work with somebody brand new is fun for them. Plus it keeps me sharp on my training skills too. And I grabbed this girl, and all of a sudden she freaked out. I was like, okay, what's happening? What's happening right now? And she started to cry. I'm like, what? She goes, you are why I'm here. You are why at Celebration, when I was ready to quit and I heard what you said, that I booked my ticket. And she goes, and now I won the welcome home. And now, you know, I'm this and that. And I just, in that little conversation, I had a good conversation with her. And I said, you, like, I just knew it right away, just by the way she was talking and her willingness. And she's from Maine. Like, that's like in the middle of way up there where there's nothing. She got to Phoenix. She got to Phoenix for this event by herself. She's got 2 young kids at home, a husband. And I said to her, I'm like, you are something special, and you are going all the way. In the last 6 months since then, she's top pool earner in the 2 3-star pool. She's ranked advanced now to 4-star. She won the Derby. She won the welcome home. She will be a President's Quest winner next year, mark my words. And, you know, for her to say, you're why I'm here, can you imagine the lives that would be blessed if she didn't continue on? So that's why you get to events, because people are looking to you to go first. They are. And it's scary and it's lonely at times, but because I remember how it felt in May of 2013 to go by myself, I will continue to go, and I will find the girl with mascara running down her face. I will find the one that I can tell is there by themselves, and I will grab them, and I will invite them to the recognition lunch like I did her. And I'm like, listen, you're coming with me. I don't care. I have hundreds of my team here, but I'm picking you to go to the recognition lunch. And I know she's going to pay that forward one day. Mark my words, she will. She will. So go first, do the work, show up, do the deal, be present. Don't be on the freaking hallway or on your phone. Like, that irritates me. Sit as close to the front as possible so you're not distracted, and be there. If you have to pee, run like hell and come back. Like I do. I don't leave. And she's right. I'm the first to get there, even though they keep special seats and stuff for me now. I don't care. I'm still there first, because you set the tone. You go first. If I want my team there early, I got to show up early. If I want people to stay till the end, guess who has to be the last one to leave? Me. So you set the tone. So whatever you do, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So You need to get to events. It's part of the commitment to wanting to be in that 2%. You can't be in the top 2%, but have, 2-cent habits. You just can't do it. And the top leaders show up. They show up early. They leave late. They do the deal. There's always time to rest. And trust me, after an event, I go and lock down and I rest. So I can do it all over again the next day. So go to events. They're amazing.
You guys have now already bought your celebration ticket. I feel like I'm going to see an increase in downline orders after you guys get off this call. Not for you, but just your team as well. What Tracy is talking about.
Can I add to that? Because here's the thing. Okay, so this will be my 4th celebration. The first one I went with one person. I was like 3 months in. I just hit Crystal Executive. I didn't even know what the heck celebration was, but like they said, you have to go. You have to get your little Crystal A and walk the stage. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. Went with one person. The next year, like after I saw the big vision, I was like, okay, this is great that I'm here, but it's not good if I'm here and nobody else is here. So I made the commitment to have 100 people there the next year, and I did. I think I had 110. Last year, we had over 500. And this year, last I checked, it was over 900 registered for celebration. And know that for every person you get to an event, it's great if you go, but if nobody's coming with you, it's kind of pointless. For every person that you bring to an event, that's like an equivalent to an extra $1,000 a year. So that's about right with where my income is going from last year to this year. If I have 1,000 people at celebration, about an extra $100,000 a year is pretty, if not more, accurate than what I made last year. So know that it's great if you go, but you need to cast that vision that it's really important that people go. And people ask me all the time, how do you get people to events? Well, you go and you talk about it and you have this uncaged, unleashed passion about it, not fake, but truly like, and the only way you're going to be really passionate about it is if you're there sitting through it, not talking on the phone, not just there for a girls' weekend, like you're really, really engaged. And, there were people for me, and I'm sharing this with you because you're going to have resistance. You're going to have people say, well, I got this going on, or, it's back to school time. I get it. August sucks for parents. It really, really does. It's really hard when you got back to school or kids starting college, but it's part of this. And, I had people resist 1-2 years, and it never fails. Every single event, I have a line of some of my team come up bawling. I get it now. And the next event, they have 10, 15 of their people. So, just know that we're not saying go to events to sell tickets or even to increase our bottom line. I mean, that's true that it does, but know that as you go and you get that passion filled and your belief in our events and our company and the culture, that's going to radiate out of your skin. So everybody that you talk to, especially those that decide they want to share this, when people say they want to share this, I'm like, great, what ticket are you buying? Because we're buying an event ticket today. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, that's part of this. You saying you want this means you're committing to the whole process. And yeah, it's awesome. You guys are going to freaking love celebration. It's going to be off the charts. 20,000 people all drinking our Kool-Aid and excited. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I wish we were going tomorrow. Like I'm ready. I just wanted to say one thing, what Tracy was saying about the people you're going to meet. Like I didn't connect with my direct upline either, and the girl that found me who's so high up in the tree that made me go. It was my very first event that there were people that I connected with, and not just the trainers, but the people in the audience, people I talked to in the bathroom that wanted to get to know you, and you figured other people were suffering. And I think we put all this pressure on how we should be. And Isagenix is like one of the first places you can go and be like, I'm not perfect. And we fall in love with the perfectly imperfect person. But there's this whole circle of life that, 3 years ago, in the grand scheme of things, that is such a short period of time. Tracy was walking around and telling people, like, you really impacted me and your call is amazing and thank you and I've learned so much from you. And now, people are saying that to her, and the hundreds of thousands of people in Isagenix that have watched the 14-day talk or something that she's done, and how impactful that's been. But just remember that, that saying that, like, to one person, you may be the world, and you never know where that's going to be. And I remember meeting Susan Sly in the bathroom and thinking I was talking to a celebrity and trying to thank her for what she had done for me. And when you think people are going to be like, okay, yeah, like they've heard it a gazillion times, mean, she stopped and she asked me questions and she was genuine and she's humbled. And that's how all of our top 100, 200, 500 leaders are, that if there's someone that's connected with you, like, let them know, but don't also forget your role in this, you know. And that's when we say, without the lanyards, without the stars and the circles, like, each and every one of you has impacted my life. You now impacted Tracy. There will be someone that your story inspires someone. When there's an event and they say, mix up, tell your story, like, don't undermine who you are and where you are right now, because someone out there needs you just the way you are, you know. And all of you guys are so special.
It's so funny that you say that, because, you know, ironically, it was Susan's slide for me that, like, the switch went off. And, you know, she is just like us, and now she's one of my really good friends. And, you know, I've done a lot of events with her. Her and I do stuff together, and, you know, she's always saying, well, what do you want me to train on? I'm like, I don't care. Like, anything that you bring to the table is amazing. However, I have one request, and I ask her this every single time. I tell her, I need you to pick a part of your story that will bridge into that, because people see your glory, but they don't know your story. And I tell her every time, as a friend too, I'm like, listen, it was that data for my soul that was the game changer. You have so many skills and things that you can teach us, which is great. You know, most 99.9% of the time needs to be that, no question. You've got so much to give us. But that little bit, that data for the soul, please share a part of it. I mean, she's got a massive story, and so she smiles every time I say it. I'm like, that story is as powerful as all the tools that you're going to give us in the rest of the hour. But please, all I ask is that give them a sliver of your story, you know? And that's what I mean when, you know, when I circle back here with, you know, being a good storyteller. I wasn't always a good storyteller. I used to verbally vomit on people in the beginning, those first 3 weeks. And that's what I learned in that first 3 weeks when I made the shift, is like, listen, I don't have to give them the baby. I just need to give them the labor pains along the way. And, you know that you dumping your entire story on somebody is not going to be effective. People are going to want little pieces of it. And, you know, after I heard Susan's little bit, I mean, when I found out the rest of the story, and I'm still learning, you know, as I'm getting to know her more and more intimate, like, I'm learning parts of her story. I'm like, holy moly, next event we do, that part needs to be shared, because that is data for the soul that somebody needs. So I love that. I love that. Yeah. And you know what? Never forget what it felt like when you started. It's weird to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's really uncomfortable for me. I'm an introvert. I'm an isolator, like I shared, and it's really weird when people are like, "Oh my God, Tracy, I watched it." I'm like, "Oh my God," or like, "Hey, I remember when you were here." Like, I forget some of the things I say because I don't do it for me. You know, it's so out of my ego, and I want you to remember that as you're deciding to grow this. Remember, none of this is about you. None of this about you, and you have no idea some of the things that people have shared with me that I've said that I don't remember, because I know it was God speaking through me. He knew that I needed to share that part of the story so it would bless somebody. And sure enough, every event I go to, somebody will say, when you said this is when I had the breakthrough. When you said this is when I had a breakthrough. When you said this is what happened. This is the ripple effect of you sharing that part of your story. So like Lauren said, never underestimate even the little parts of your story. Even the little things that don't seem like a big deal, they are to somebody. The littlest parts of my story, the things like I share, I'm like, I don't know why I'm sharing this. God put it on my heart to share it, but here we go, and post, and oh my goodness. You know, it's those little things that, like, I would have never imagined that would impact somebody, ever. So don't discount yourself. You know, take every experience that you have. And even if right now you're going through some crap, you know, I've been going through some crap lately too. And I quit asking why. I'm like, okay, I know this is going to bless somebody someday. And, you know, I don't get stuck in the yuck. I don't get stuck in the why me's. I know why me. I know why me. And you need to know why you too. And it's because God has a greater purpose for you. And whatever you're going through, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, it is going to be used to bless somebody as long as you allow it to. And as long as you don't give it a negative power, you give it a positive power, even if it's hard and challenging and uncomfortable and inconvenient and because there's stuff that happens that really is not fun. Right now, I'm going through stuff that is so not fun. But I know I know that is going to be for a much greater good. And, you know, that's usually when people will back off or stop. I see it all the time in Isagenix. I see it all the time in some of our top leaders even. I can tell when they're going through something because they back off. They back off. Now, do I share the yuck I'm going through when I'm going through it? When it's most like raw? No. Because most people don't want to hear something without a resolution. You know, if people are going to relate to you and your stuff, they're going to need to know how you overcame it. And so when I'm going through stuff, like the stuff I'm going through right now, I know when I'm ready to talk about it, holy moly, it's going to be amazing because I will have a solution for people. I will say, hey, I've been there. This is how you break through that. And so know that God is prepping you for something really great, but you have to be willing to go through it. Not numb it out. We're going to grow through it. We're going to grow through it, and it's going to bless the crap out of so many people. So keep going.
I love it. I'm going to unmute you guys just so you can send some love to Tracy, and please say thank you and all that fun stuff. Tracy, you're absolutely amazing. I will get you the link to the recording, and thank you for your time, your wisdom, your grace, your vulnerable heart. I mean, there are some ladies that are fired up right now. So guys, please send some love to her.
Thank you, Tracy. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much. We love you. We'll see you on Celebration.
Thank you, Tracy. Bye.
Bye, and hug you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much. I'm actually dialing in to do Angela Maresca's call. So I'm going to hang up, but I'll message you in a little bit.
And Tracy, I want to say something really fast. I just want to say thank you for sharing your story too. I started losing it.